Have you been thinking about moving to Northern Nevada, but you're not sure where to start? Reno might be the big name that everyone initially calls us about, but there are plenty of other amazing cities nearby that you need to know, including Lake Tahoe's Nevada side. So in today's video, we're gonna walk you through all the different options, many of which people don't even know that are close by. So whether you're considering Reno Sparks, Carson City, Minden and Gardnerville, or even the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, you can find the perfect spot based on your budget, your lifestyle, and your commute time. And trust me, if you don't know the key differences, you could end up in the wrong area or even overpay for something that doesn't fit your needs. So let's dive in and show you all the options that Northern Nevada has to offer. All right, so today we're gonna talk about all the different options here in Northern Nevada, and there's a lot of them that I think people don't realize. And as always, we have Sydney Lessinger on, who I think you guys are getting comfortable seeing on these videos at this point. And she is the one that's actually out showing homes to a lot of our buyers. So let's start off with the one that initially everybody calls about, is Reno. And I think for most people, if we combine Reno and Sparks, I don't think they really know. A lot of them, I tell them, if we drive you around, they won't know where one begins and one ends. But let's talk about Reno first, and some of the biggest reasons why people are calling us all about, Reno and Northern Nevada.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the heart of our area. It is busy. It's got all kinds of amenities and things that people want that they're not getting elsewhere. And everything, for the most part, is pretty conveniently located. Right. And being in Reno, for the most part, is where people want to be when they move here.
When we talk about Reno, a lot of it is based upon people's affordability and their price points and what parts of town they can be in. So we typically always start there because, again, depending on what they can pay or what they can afford on a house, it will dictate a lot of the areas that we show them. But what people have to understand is you can still get a home in the 400s. We talked about this last night, where if you start trying to get under 400,000, it does get a little more difficult for people. You might be in some really outlying areas or homes that do need a lot of work or that are older. But some of the other real perks about living in Reno is obviously jobs, commute times, and it's a lot bigger than people, I think, expect it to be.
Yep.
And especially for housing, it's a lot more expensive, I think, than people think.
Right. I would agree with that. And that's why, affordability is going to dictate a lot of where you're going to end up here.
And so when we talk about some of the neighborhoods that typically people are asking about, so we do a lot of videos about specific neighborhoods, but as Reno as a whole, again, whether you want to be in South Reno, Midtown, Somerset, like we've done a lot of videos, you can find them all over our channel about those specific areas. But as Reno as a whole, what people have to understand is that a lot of them have never heard of Sparks.
Right.
And Sparks, again, it's all one county. So Washoe County is Reno and Sparks. When people call about school districts or whatever the case may be, or maybe they haven't heard of Sparks, a lot of times they don't understand. If we didn't say we were in Sparks, they wouldn't even know. So what would you tell people that, are some big opportunities for them in Sparks?
Yeah, definitely. The cost of housing is a little bit cheaper out there. Not saying that it's going to be crazy drastic. It's not going to be, oh my gosh, I have to live in Sparks. But you can get a little bit more bang for your buck out there. It's also a smaller area. So kind of the further north you get into Sparks towards Spanish Springs, it gets quieter. There's less people out there. It's a smaller area, and you can honestly sometimes find pretty nice houses for a way more affordable price.
Well, there's a lot of new construction going out there as well. Tell them what you know about that.
Yeah, there's 3 different housing sites that are going up right now with 3 different builders. D.R. Horton, Toll Brothers, and Lennar are the 3 builders that are predominantly building in the Sparks area, which has been great.
And I always tell people it's kind of like small, medium, and large.
Yes.
As far as size of homes and also prices, kind of small, medium, and large. There are other builders and other people that are doing things out there. And the other thing that people have to understand is if you go towards the North Valley, so we talk about Lemon Valley, Golden Valley, Stead, Cold Springs, that is the area a lot of people go for affordability as well.
Yep.
The negatives to the North Valleys, and if you get further out in Sparks, are?
They're far. They can be less convenient for getting your kids back to school, getting to doctors, dentists, anything like that, because there is one ingress and egress to most of those areas. There are 3 roads out of Sparks, but the big main road sometimes gets backed up if you're trying to get back into Reno. So just things to think about.
It becomes traffic. I know in the North Valleys, the highway that runs out that way, they've been doing massive road construction, widening out those roads a lot. There are going to be some more new construction homes built out in those areas. So there's a lot more amenities out there than there used to be. I used to live off of Stead Boulevard 30 years ago, and I would probably say 75 to 80% of what was out there then wasn't out there now. If you do go, so if you're on 80, the North Valleys are kind of the northwest corner, and Reno really is about 75% of Reno Sparks. So if we showed you the map again, we always show you that McCarran Loop and then where all these things are. But off of 80, when you're in Sparks, it's either Pyramid Highway, Sparks Boulevard, or Vista. And they go out 20 miles now. I mean, it goes way the hell out there. And so again, if you work out there, you live out there, it's not as big a deal as if you're trying to get back to the highway. I do know like where the Pyramid Highway and McCarran, that is now turned into probably the biggest intersection in town.
It's massive.
Yeah. So if you're coming off the freeway and you make the left turn, it's 3 turn lanes. They've done a lot to kind of alleviate that traffic. And when you first come up over that hill and now you've got a full view of kind of the Sparks, Spanish Springs area, there's a lot of amenities out there that literally none of that was there 20 years ago.
Right.
So if you do live in Sparks, a lot of the things that you used to have to come into Reno for, are great. And again, if you're trying to get to the lake or things like that, Sparks is a little further away.
Yep.
But again, one county, one place, and most people wouldn't know the difference as far as that goes, and then they're going towards North Valleys. Now, again, talking about housing affordability, for a lot of people that becomes an issue, and a lot of people are coming here for jobs. What are a couple of the other options to the east and south of Reno?
Yeah, going out to the east, there is the town of Fernley. Fernley, we don't talk about super often, which I don't really know why. Fernley is a great area out to the east, excuse me.
Yeah.
And if you go further down to the south, Carson City is just below us. So if you're still looking for kind of more affordable options, those areas do start to get a little bit further out. Fernley especially can be a little bit isolated out there, but a potentially good option.
And I think a lot of people are going out to Fernley now because it did get more affordable. And literally almost halfway between Reno Sparks and Fernley is USA Parkway.
Yes.
Tell them about USA Parkway.
Yeah, that is where our Trick data center or kind of industrial park has been built out there. It's Tesla, Panasonic. I mean, there are major, big, massive companies out there. And if you guys have never been out there, you should drive it. It is massive.
Yeah. And I think it's really helped Fernley for people to be able to do that. Now, I know you still can find homes in Fernley under $400,000. And so for people that are coming that are going to work off USA Parkway especially, it's a great option. And if you take that turn on USA Parkway, it goes about 22 miles before you hit this roundabout. And that roundabout brings you out to places that people really don't know about, which would be places like Silver Springs. And if you turn back towards town, you're going to go towards Dayton. So, it's kind of like, I say, it's like this big square. So Reno Sparks to the east is Fernley. USA Parkway straight south again is going to get you out towards Dayton. And then as you get back towards the west, now you hit our state capital, which is Carson City. And what can you tell people about Carson City?
Yeah, Carson City is an older historic town. It is super charming. Everything is a little bit calmer and quieter down there. It definitely runs more so like a small town that Reno used to. Reno still very much has small town vibes, but if you're looking for the slower pace, the quieter lifestyle, Carson City might be a better option.
It does have a majority of homes there are older.
Yes.
It is a different school district and things. When you get to these other cities, Carson, Fernley, Dayton do their own things. In Carson, it's one high school.
Right.
There are multiple middle schools and elementary schools, but again, not as many new home options, not as much, let's say, growth and job opportunity. I think Carson's been roughly the same size. Maybe it's grown a little bit since I've lived in northern Nevada. So these other cities, I think Fernley and Dayton have grown more than Carson City, but we've helped clients move to all these places. And would you say there's a certain demographic that's been going out to these cities, or you've seen kind of all different flavors?
Honestly, you kind of get everybody.
Right.
I mean, I had a very surprising group of people the first month actually that I was doing real estate.
Right.
This couple had called, and in my first conversation with them, I was like, oh, they're going to live in South Reno. Just based on what they were telling me, house-wise, what they were looking at. They live in Dayton now on the golf course.
Right.
They love it.
Right.
They love being out there.
And what people don't understand is none of this is really that far. So from the South Reno areas, it is actually a shorter drive, let's say 20, 25 minutes to Carson City, than if we go north and then northeast out to Sparks. If you go out to Spanish Springs, it's easier for me, honestly, to get to Carson from our office than it is to Sparks. So you can actually live in Carson or Fernley and work in Reno Sparks.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out what times of day you're driving because there are going to be some commute issues. I think the drive south towards Carson is a lot easier drive than, let's say, east towards Fernley. The people in Dayton, I would say if you're going to live in Dayton, you probably wouldn't want to live or be working in Reno Sparks. It might be
that does start to get a little bit far.
Yeah, a little further out as far as that stuff goes. So again, it's kind of this big square and none of it is that far. If you're someone thinking about getting your journey started to moving to northern Nevada, do me a favor and click the link in the description below where we can get you a copy of our buyer's guide that'll help you get started knowing what you need to on your journey to northern Nevada. Then for people that want to go even a little further south into the Carson Valley and go towards Minden and Gardnerville, it's an area a lot of people don't know about. And it is definitely more expensive because I feel like it's more of a retiree area.
Yeah.
If you're right in the main city, in the main drag, it's like another kind of small city like these others. But I don't know how much you've gotten a chance to go down there and show some people, but what can you tell them about, Minden and Gardnerville?
Definitely, I'm going to be a little bit biased because I am the horse girl in our office. But I love that area. It is a little bit flatter in the valley. It's more horse country as you're driving through Minden, where you'll kind of look to your right and left, and it's cattle ranches and sheep farms and just kind of all this agriculture until you get into kind of the heart of Minden and Gardnerville. And the mountain views are incredible. Talk about small town charm. I mean, everything is slow moving down there. It's little, it's cute. And everybody that I have talked to that has lived down there, recently bought a house down there, they all love it.
So as I tell people, if you're in the south end of Carson, before you get to Minden and Gardnerville, there's a bunch of areas out there, Jacks Valley Road, Johnson Lane, and these are a lot of properties that are on big acreage that have all the things that you're talking about. But at the same time, you're not far back to either Minden or Carson.
Nope.
And if you want to live in these outlying areas, again, and you need an airport nearby, you're still only going to be, I think from Minden, Gardnerville downtown to our airport, it can't be more than about 45, 50 minutes now.
Yeah.
Now, of course, depending on traffic and weather and those kind of things. But some of the reason why people move to these areas, especially if you're retiring and you live maybe in Genoa, which is near those areas as well, is from there, you can get to that south end of Lake Tahoe where the casinos are real quick, Edgewood, golf course.
Yep.
But if you live, let's say, in the northwest part of Reno and Somerset, now you're getting to that north end of the lake. And if you live in Carson and South Reno, you're getting more into that middle part of the lake, which we want to discuss now, which is the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. We do not work on the California side, so it's really a little more isolated over there, and there's not as much going on that side. The Nevada side is more going on, but there are definitely some areas, whether it's Incline, Zephyr Cove. We don't really typically go up there a ton for people, but what can you tell people, one, about living up there, and two, the access to getting to it?
For sure. Getting up there and living up there will be completely different than living actually in Reno, Carson City, and off the mountain. It will be alpine. You're going to be living in trees. You're going to be living in a forest. You're not going to have quite the open views that you would down in the valley. It also gets a lot more weather up there. I mean, I'm not sure if people have ever seen Reno Tahoe news when they have 78 inches of snow and people are packed into their houses. So it's just a completely different experience up there.
Well, we joke because Incline from the south end of Reno is really about a 30-minute drive. Yeah. A lot of great neighborhoods, a lot of great houses up in that Incline area. The cool part is you can live down in the valley and you can get up to Lake Tahoe and not have to really spend a lot of time driving, those kind of things. But it's amazing how people, they start off at the lake, they live up there for a few years, and then we jokingly call them decliners instead of incliners because they just get sick of the weather and the snow. And if you have a couple of heavy winters for people, especially if they're getting older, more retirement age, at some point they'll be like, you know what, I like to visit here, but I don't necessarily want to live up there. When we talk about all these areas, we want people to understand the whole point of what we're doing today is letting them know that we talk mostly about Reno Sparks, but there are a lot of other options. And whether it is east, south, and getting to Dayton, even out there.
And these are all areas that we work in consistently. We work these areas. So we're not just talking about, we have these surrounding areas. If you're interested, we work them.
So and nothing's more than an hour away.
No.
For people that really want to get outlined, we sold a home in Silver Springs last year.
Yep.
On occasion, we'll go out to places like Fallon and even Yerington.
Yep.
Not places we go for everybody, but like with Fallon, it's more agricultural, military based. We got a lot of people that are out there temporarily. So I probably in my career maybe sold 10 or 15 homes in Fallon. So not a high use, but people need to be aware of these places that it might be somewhere that they want to go.
Definitely.
And you can tell them more about, like I said, big acreage, open space.
Yes.
It's what people are looking for with that being said. So any other pockets, areas that you think of that people might not know about?
No, I think we've covered most of them.
Yeah, I think sometimes people mix up Reno neighborhoods like Verdi, Mogul, Somerset, Arrow Creek, Montreux, and think of those as, cities, but those are just neighborhoods within cities. And so we try to, give you specifics about those as well. But what we want people to understand is when we talk about Northern Nevada, it is a big area.
Yes.
It is a spread out area. And there are lots of opportunities and options for people. Even still, if you can only afford $200,000 and $300,000, there's condos, townhomes, there's outlying areas that we can get you into that, you might commute for a while until you go on it from there. So with that being said, if you're having questions about more than just Reno Sparks, reach out to us, comment below. We're more than happy to give you the information you need. And like we always say, even if you're 6, 12, 24 months out,
reach out to us.
We just want to get the program started for you. So there you go. And thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the content we're putting out each and every week, check out this video we did right here about the pros and cons of living in Northern Nevada.